Hi-ho campers, how you doing? This is Sharon Combs with UCDI Leadership. We host this knowledge or nonsense where we talk about things and we just vet, is this knowledge or is this truly nonsense? Today, we're going to jump into value. How does your skill set determine value? How does work ethic determine value? And ultimately, who determines value? Your value, what you bring to the team. So without further ado, we have Sharon. Well, we're going to introductions later. Without further ado, let's just jump right in. Hey, ladies, so glad you're here joining me today. How's everyone doing?
Awesome.
Great. Good morning.
Yay,
Good morning.
Awesome too. Yes, woohoo. And it must be, yes, Lila, I see a couple of people outside, so it must be beautiful where they are. Enjoying some of that weather. Enjoying some of the weather. So good morning, Gina. Gina's already saying good morning. Here we are. COVID pandemic has shined a light on sterile processing, but the pandemic itself has shined a light on a global marketplace. And so we hear different conversations. Hey, we should get hazard pay. Hey, they don't pay me what I'm worth and this and that. So let's just jump right in. Like, does skill set determine value within sterile processing? We're going to talk first. We're focusing on sterile processing, and later I'll let everyone know your leadership roles and where you come from. Does skill set determine how does skill set play into value?
Definitely. I think that when people want to rise up and get a new position and they don't have any, and all you've ever be able to produce is just that one certification, I think you have to understand that that you have to have some more value to bring to the organization that you want to have advancement in. Sometimes it just can't happen by you, or the opposite of it, because some people think that if I go get 4 certifications, I'm automatically deemed to have that manager role when that position gets posted. So I think that is a true point. Like it's a balance between both. You have to kind of show that your value is there, that you're experienced and knowledgeable, but also go for the other tools that you need to have on your belt, so to speak, to be able to speak to it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sharon. I'm sorry.
I want to say that to a point, as she says, value, your skill set makes you valuable. Your skill set, what you're able to actually do. I am of the belief that just carrying certifications does not make you valuable to me in the position I'm in. It means that you're able to read a book and take a test. What I need to know is, are you able to function as a technician with all those letters behind your name? Do you have critical thinking skills? And so what I have found is that to me, this is personal, our downfalls is that we allowed people to get certifications in ISHM without the experience needed to meet the certification. So at one time, you could not be a CIS without at least 2 years hands-on experience. Now people become the CRCST. Next week, they're the CIS. Next week, they're a CER. Next week, they're a CHL. And next week, they want to be the manager. They don't even know what to do. So value has to be determined by the person or the group you're working for.
Right. And I also agree with, you go above taking that extra step to do the schooling, to get that additional teaching skills. The hands-on is very important. But then also, and I'd say, I didn't start out as early on as Rosa Parks, but starting out in this industry, I did start out over 35 years ago. So it seems like to some of these technicians that are young, yeah, I seem as old as Rosa Parks. But, you know, it has to do with integrity. It has to do with not just showing up to work, because these days people show up to work and they say, I came to work. That warrants me to get more money. You get paid to show up to come to work. So kudos, bravo, you came to work, you showed up. But it's that going above and beyond when you're really needed in the trenches, and it's like it's 3:30, it's time for me to go home, and we still have 50 cases left to go, and we need some help. You know, it's when your coworker is drowning in an area and you're not assigned to that area, but you're caught up in your area, and you're like, well, I'm not in that area. It's the going above and beyond. It's the pride you take in what you do that separates you from just coming to get that paycheck and you being valuable, because we value for coming in, great, but that's what we paid you for. So right. I know it's a little sticky, but
yeah. You know, when I first got into when I first started working with a company, like in 2012, and working like outside the hospital, but navigating in between like the travelers and the CNOs and whatnot, there would be times when it was time for bonuses that people were like, well, give me my bonus, but they hadn't done any bonus things, you know, like, and I think people believe bonus is something that you are entitled to because you came to work. But if you look at any bonus criteria, like the bonus is based on what's over and above, you know? And so, I mean, like they would be for real too. Like they would have several absences. They were like, but I'm still here.
I know.
You know, and that's serious. They really talk like that. I'm still here. Like you owe me this bonus. And I'm like, no, the bonus is for the above and beyond. The bonus is for the person who actually covered all your absences. You know, the bonus is for the person whose productivity covered you taking those extra breaks during the day. Like, I'm glad you're still here, but that's not bonus. That's what we agreed on at first.
Right.
We agreed on in the pay rate. That's not bonus. And if you're not careful, you will get around people who will be your quote unquote amen corner, and they will amen that foolishness. And that's why this is knowledge and nonsense. Like that's nonsense to expect a bonus when you haven't done bonus. The bonus is extra and it's designated for extra.
That's right.
If you're doing bare minimum, you get pay rate. And so a lot of people, I mean, and they would be irate.
Right.
You know, they would be irate. And then again, here's value. Who defines your value? Because once they're irate, now they're bringing that irateness into the department and telling other people in the break room.
Right.
So now your team, your leadership team, has to try to do damage control, not because the instrument set is missing or there's bioburden, but because you don't understand bonus. You know?
Right.
So now your value is going down regardless of how many initials you have behind your name.
Right. Well, what I tell people, because, you know, we do an every year evaluation, and ours goes not good, meets requirements, exceeds requirement, way above that. And I stand up and tell my staff, most of you all meet requirements. You came to work, you did some work, you went home. That's meets. Now, if you want to tell me that you exceed, then you should be able to write it down. Write down everything you did that exceeded your job. So you came to work, you picked up a tray, you did the tray, you ran a load. You have not exceeded yet.
I agree.
Because they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
They don't know the difference. They came to work with, I'm doing really great work. And then I have to pull out your errors. And when I calculate your errors with you came to work, you were sick 3 weeks out the year, all these things, you barely got a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you are really becoming of no value to me running the department. And so what I need, because I'm trying to mentor people to greatness, I see potential in people being greater. I say you have to be able to look outside your window. This is every man for himself. This is not a group sport. So when I do your evaluation, I only evaluate you. So you have to come to the table with, this is what I did. This is what my job description said I'm supposed to do. These are the things that I did that are actually extra. I stand before them, ladies, and I say, I have never met expectations. I always come in exceeding expectations. And I am able to articulate on paper why I exceed and why I really am better than that. And I'm trying to get them to that. But as far as value, as you said, Sharon, you have to be of value to me. When we come in, I came in the other day and we have only extra three code cards. There was only 2 in the department. When I opened the door and perused the room, I came out and said, where's the 3rd code card? They all looked at me and said, huh? I said, we have 3 code cards, right? Yes, there's only 2 here. Oh, no, not oh, let's go find it. So if you exceed, you say, I saw that, Miss Golden, already, and I've already started doing the investigation to find the 3rd code card. Now you're doing a little extra for me.
Yes. Yes. So along those lines, I want to back up just a little bit. Hey, I see Mo right there, Mo Thomas. Mo and Gina, thank you guys so much for commenting. If you are up to it, as we bring this to a close, I would love to bring both of you into the green room. Just for putting the comments up there, I'd love to bring you into the green room. And then after we come offline, you guys can ask this leadership panel any questions you want for just a few minutes. And that's not recorded. That's just a behind the scenes conversation where you're able to ask and get some feedback on things that you may have going on in your own life or within your own facilities and your leadership journey. And so what I'd like to say now is, as we were just talking, we're talking about value. We're talking about going above and beyond. So let's take out the above and beyond with value, and how does that skill set affect value? I wanted to ask a question about safety in numbers, because sometimes the entire department may complain about something and you follow that. But Sharon, you just said when it's time for that evaluation, that's a one-on-one time. Right. So how do you guys feel about, and this isn't on the thing, this is a hot seat question, everyone who's looking. How do you feel about the term, there's safety in numbers as it relates to value and the leadership ladder, like your career ladder? Boom, mic drop. Boom, boom.
I want to be the show. There's only safety in numbers if what you're coming to me with, number one, you've done your investigative background work. You're coming to me with cohesive, true information, not innuendos, not hearsay, not rumors. You're coming to me with facts, because I can jump on facts and I can work with facts. So I stand in front of a group of 25 people, and I will tell you, there's always one that is the spokesperson. There's always 5 that was the push to the spokesperson. And then there's the rest of them that's just riding the train. Right. So what I want to know is this truly an issue that we need to work on? Or is this something one person is trying to get through? Or are you all just trying to cause confusion in the department? In my hospital, it is hard for the latter, because there's not that many spaces for people to climb. We got to, as I sometimes say, somebody got to die. We don't have no position. You know, we got to kill somebody, then you can be the team leader. We don't have no position. Get yourself prepared to be able to step in. You can always be a quiet leader, leading behind the scenes and being ready and practicing. Because right now in my sterile processing, we don't have a big ladder. We already have 4 team leaders in the department that takes care of every shift. And all of my team are Tech 2s. Of the Tech 2s, 12 of them are Tech 2s who hold a CIS. So, you know, we're there with the knowledge, supposedly, but I can go to the table and pull an instrument up and my CISs look just as crazy as the rest of them. So I tell them, this is where I come back and say that CIS isn't doing you any good if you're not doing any studying behind the scenes to make yourself better.
Lila, you look like you had something you were going to weigh in on. Let's get it, Lila. Let's get it.
No, I totally agree with that information. You see it a lot. I see it more now that I'm in a different level of my career, right? Because now that you've gone past the beginning phases of being a technician and in your leadership, so you hear the grumble. So I can see it. I see it happening over there in them little groups, and during the break room, I see it, festering up. We gonna tell them today about how we feel about this, and I'm just like, okay, calm down, because you may not know the background. Come with the. And then that's what it is. And so sometimes we're ready to jump to a conclusion about something that really came from way higher up leadership and is being trickled down to us. And we all have to therefore abide and kind of make our own ways with this, especially right now. I mean, I can't think of a day when there hasn't been something new that's been thrown out to our team and they're just expect to rise to the occasion. But I totally agree. Sometimes you gotta, it's safety in groups. I think it is, because sometimes the light's not on you directly, but also know where you want to draw the line. Because I'm not riding with everybody. I'm not that person's going to sit out there and because I know that I have a family to take care of. So when everybody's out there riding that train, I'm up here like, well, I don't have a job today because I just came in new and now I'm out because I got to take care of my family. So I think about those things. Make an educated guess. I've never been a person that just stopped speaking to somebody because somebody else said something bad about that person. I give everybody opportunity to come in with a fair shake, and you got to do that with your leadership too. Give them opportunity to give you the reasoning why a decision's been made, and then make your own decision. Don't just be ready to go with the spokesperson or the other riders. That's what they say. Hey, this is what they doing to us. It's so unfair. Listen to both sides of the story, and then make your own opinion and decide where you want to fall with it.
Well, I'm sorry, Sharon. I believe in true collectivism, right? And true collectivism was actually the foundation of why we have unions. Not when they had poor workplaces, underappreciated, valued facilities that were putting staff at harm. So true collectivism, in a positive light, is when those unofficial leaders can corral their constituents to come to a general consensus on what they're trying to push. With true collectivism is why we have ISHM. That was about true collectivism. Or why we have states that have legislative rights to push or mandate certification. So that's a positive aspect of true collectivism, is when you get behind a cause that's going to benefit the greater good. But I agree with what you said. You can't, of course, jump on a bandwagon. And if you're jumping on any wagon, you were not prepared to pursue an issue. So I totally agree with true collectivism.
I agree with that as well. Know who's leading, because everybody's not leading you to in the right direction. And for me, if it's something that I have a strong conviction about, I really don't want people behind me to go say what I need. And I say that to you, as a technician or as a supervisor or whoever it is that you feel strongly about someone. Because if you have a whole group, I remember one time I walked in the office from the outside. On the inside door, as soon as I walked in from outside, the light comes on, and it was the whole department standing right there at the door, like in a fishbowl or something. So I opened the door, and they were like, yeah. And I closed the door, and I put a note up there. I wrote on a note, when you we'll talk. And so I said, so when you can talk, we'll talk. And they stepped back, and then about 5 minutes later, I opened the door and I said, are you ready to talk? And they said, yes. And so they came in and I heard them, and we talked about what their concern was. But so know how to address whatever your concerns are, whether you're alone or with a group.
So if we can just do a yes or no on this question I'm about to ask, because we're going to go right to a commercial and then we're going to come back. So Donnie asked, are self and peer evaluations effective for your team? You can do more than yes, but for time's sake, it has to be under a minute. If you don't have it under a minute, just don't even weigh in just yet. Okay, so that's my question for you. Are self and peer evaluations effective for your team?
I would say yes. I think it's really important to hear what your peers have to say about you. We feel it's we're so great but as someone that works with you every day. So I think evaluate yourself. It's interesting to see how it weighs against one another.
Yes.
I say yes, it is important and it is valuable because that allows you to put down your truth and it allows you to hear the other side of the truth. And then it allows me to put the real truth. So yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna say yes, but I think it's value in knowing how other people perceive you too, because like you said, I can think I'm great all day, but other people may have some different spins or may just be able to critique me in a way to help me grow. Because I have to take that criticism as an opportunity for me to improve upon myself. I don't ever believe I know everything, and I'm ready to grow and to get more knowledge. And if that's something that I can help, like someone guiding me, I want to take it.
I say yes to peer evaluations. Self-evaluations, I believe we have to train our teams how to self-evaluate, unless it's not genuine. So once it's become genuine and not just, Google how to complete a self-evaluation, and 10 out of 20 people on your team have the exact same answer, just rephrased differently, that's a concern. So yes, but with caution.
All right, excellent. Thanks so much for that. We're going to take a brief break, highlight one of our sponsors. And just when we come back, we're going to ask, people are asking for more pay because of COVID. We get caught up in the thing. And sometimes it's valid, sometimes it's not. So we'll ask about that, for technicians and supervisors, for anyone asking for more pay, even hazard pay. We're going to ask, what are you basing that on? And then the second question is, how do we advise someone to be objective with how they are looking at their value in the holistic marketplace? Not just because I work in New York or not just only my department, because we have a lot of travelers. We have people who do want to move up and maybe the ladder where they are is not there. But maybe if they make a move to a different place, then they can still have that upward movement that they want. So those are the next two questions that we're going to ask. Everyone enjoy this brief break as we show people how they can get educated in this field. All right, that's it, and we're back. So people are asking for more pay. On these two questions, I'm going to dole these out. Sharon and LaWayne, what would you say? There's a cry right now for more pay, even hazard pay. What do you say to technicians, certified or not, who are demanding more pay?
Okay, so my team came out and said they thought they needed hazard pay. And one thing I will do is I will listen to you. And so I asked them, why did you need hazard pay? And they said, because we working with the coronavirus. I said, well, you didn't ask me for hazard pay when you were working with hepatitis, HIV, SARS, bird flu, none of them other things. So I'm just a little confused because that's what we clean and kill every day as to why all of a sudden you need some hazard pay. In my state of Maryland, my hospital system is one of the only systems that did not furlough workers. Administration and higher and upper management, which I'm a part of, we took a 35% pay cut to keep the little man on the job. And so I'm a little tight about you need some hazard pay because I gave up 35% so you could get some pay. And in the field of sterilization processes, you was cleaning AIDS all the time and didn't know it.
Yeah.
You was cleaning hepatitis and didn't know it. And not once did you ask me for hazard pay. So I think that there's a place and there's some people that needed to maybe get that. But as for me and sterile processing, I think that we at my hospital cannot make that case that we needed to get some hazard pay when everybody on my team made 80 hours every 2 weeks, without a doubt. So that's just my take.
Well, and I'll jump in. The little man on the team, or our frontline professionals are the reason why we exist. And I still take up concern if my technicians, we travel multiple states, are being paid the same wage as someone in a department that has a less hazardous job. So if you're getting paid the same wage as the doorman, not saying the doorman is not important, but the doorman is not faced with the pathological pathogens we face every day. We should absolutely advocate for greater pay for your position, for your city and state. Now, no two places in the country are alike. We have to understand the multiple different variables. But if you started off underpaid, then you're already 2 steps behind the national average. Which, in honesty, now Phil, there is no national average because there's so many variations of pay. So I think it's a state by state, hospital by hospital assessment that's needed to really make sure your technicians, your folks in SPD are being compensated appropriately. Because there are some great divides, hospital to hospital, in the same city. There's some great divides, and many of it is due to the hospital culture and lack of understanding, and others just due to most of those resources are pushed to areas of the hospitals without any regard to the folks that keep the hospital open. So while I agree, Sharon, be grateful for what you have, I think there's always room for growth in some scenarios.
Right, LaWayne, I don't think that's not the interpretation I got from the question. We've always been underpaid. We've always needed more money. I took it that the question was specific to, do you need hazard pay for the COVID-19 pandemic? And you cannot wait until a pandemic shows up and start saying you need hazard pay. You should have been talking about hazard pay last year before COVID showed up. And I've been fighting for my team from the beginning. So understand, I do believe that you need to have equal pay. I got a question. You run a travel agency?
I do.
Okay.
I'm on some things.
Okay, so that is a bit different than working in a standalone permanent position as a hospital employee, because the travelers I've always had, always come into my hospital making much more than the people they stand next to help. So my thing has been trying to get the pay up so that the employees in the hospital are not mad at the travelers who come in to help them work. But as for this question, I was specific to COVID-19.
Right.
This question is specific to COVID-19. I like that. I like the little passion there. We had a little woo woo. That was a little passion. That was good.
Yeah.
This one is specific to COVID because in some of the groups, I'm hearing people say they want hazard pay. And a lot of them are saying, they'll say, we deserve hazard pay because nurses are getting this and nurses are getting that. And that's what I'm saying, like the safety and numbers, you have to do your own due diligence. Your job is hazardous. So you're like, you already are doing a hazard thing. And I just want to say, I don't want travelers to get a bad rap. Travelers actually come in and help a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are not certified, like within the area higher up on the East Coast, Maryland, Jersey, those things. A lot of those places, if it's not state mandated, well, it's not state mandated. In Jersey and New York, it is. But other places, a lot of facilities mandate certification. But there are a lot of places across the nation that do not. And so a lot of times you have people doing stuff because somebody told them, and there's no policies and procedures. And so the travelers come in and they really provide a service.
That's
and
right.
So,
well, and Sharon, if I may, before we move on, there are many hospitals, because I've worked in facilities for over 15 years. There are many hospitals right now that have promoted and given their sterile processing hazardous pay. Although they may not have called it hazardous pay, they were given bonuses. I know a few in New York City that I have, close ties to. So it's also a facility by facility decision. Should it be managed across the board? That depends on your organization. But I do agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a facility by facility.
That's good.
Right. And you're right. You're right, Luane. You're right, Luane.
Okay.
I will tell you that Adventist Healthcare did not give hazardous pay to the nurses, to the techs, to anesthesia techs. They didn't give hazard pay to nobody. What they said
let's let that one go.
No, they said let us be glad we work.
No. Sure.
That's right.
Some of the facilities have given pay. A bonus is a bonus. A hazard pay is hazard pay. And because of our population, we just want to be sure that we're using the right terminology. Like the facility may have worked it out a different way to get paid to people, but we don't. That's why this next question is, how would you advise someone to objectively look at their value in the marketplace? Because I don't want someone going and standing on a hill for hazard pay and they standing on the wrong hill. If it's a bonus, it's a bonus for going above and beyond, or we want to show appreciation. But so let's leave all that. Great answers, everyone.
I want to say one thing about hazard pay. I'm sorry, because I want to say it's not about hazard pay, who gets it, who doesn't. I just want to say that sometimes we have to review what's going on in the environment. Because I look at the fact that, school shut down. So I have school-aged children. They had nowhere to go and nothing to, but then I'm an essential worker. So I'm expected to report. And that's not just me. It's, the majority of the staff that I work with and people that I work with in the hospital in general. Not everybody had an option of being able to stay at home and work or, and jump on a conference call. Now I've had the balance of both worlds, but that's the reality. So if hazard pay is to help pay a babysitter, because now I have to go now enlist someone else to help out with my family needs and what I need to compensate, then maybe we need to start looking at the term a little bit more loosely to understand that people need a little bit more help because certain other things that are in place weren't in place anymore and literally went down in a day. It wasn't no warning on how we were going to survive when schools went off, for forever. So anyway, but I just wanted to add that in as just as a tidbit.
That's a good point. You said more loosely. I would say define more clearly.
Sharon Combs.
Because when you go and you stand before individuals, you need to have, like what you just said, that's a concise argument. You need to have that. You can't say, well, they're giving it to the nurses. You shot yourself in the foot. You just lost your audience. Because that means you're on an emotional pull and shoe pull. You need to be able to have the language and the articulation to describe what it is you're asking for. That's value. That's what I'm talking about. How would you advise someone to objectively look at their value within the marketplace? You have to be able to, A, communicate your value effectively, B, say how your value influences and impacts the organization or the person you're saying it to, and C, you have to be able to do that, not emotionally. You have to be aware, like I can hear our passion. I can hear it in our speech going faster, our speech getting higher, our body starts moving a bit. It's okay. You don't have to be emotional over facts. Facts are facts. And when we can present them concisely as facts, then people hear them. Sometimes our emotions speak louder than our words.
Right. And I do agree.
Move on. It's so good.
I know we want to move on.
Aaron, we don't want you to move on yet.
But there's more than
we got to move on.
You started this. There's more than one way to put your value out there. And I will say this. I volunteered for the committee on childcare. Why? Because my team have children. And so when they had that committee come up, I jumped right on it because I wanted to be sure that whatever they came up with, it was going to benefit my team. And as Luane said, every group is different.
It is.
Every group is different.
I'm cutting all of you off right now because we're going to this next question. This is so good, and I love this. I hate to have to cut you off. These next questions are equally valuable, and we want to be sure that the whole audience gets the true value of what we're offering. We'll skip the objective thing, and we'll talk about that behind the scenes with the individuals if they join us. I've sent the link out to a couple of people, And if they join, then they can get that in the behind the scenes. Listen, COVID highlights sterilization. So the light we've been seen in a whole new way. We always knew it was pop. We always knew the value we brought. We've always been fighting pathogens, harmful pathogens. We've always been doing our part for patient safety. You know, we've always been doing our part to make sure things are sterile and healthy. The pandemic, however, highlights a shifting marketplace, which means many people are furloughed, as Sharon alluded to earlier. Them taking a pay cut. People may not know that they took a 35% pay cut, but many people have been furloughed. There have been many bankruptcies. Hospitals are shutting down because they don't have the finances by losing these elective surgeries. They were already cutting it close when the elective surgeries left. You know, that was a large part of their revenue. Hertz rental car, they've been around as long as I've been around. They went bankrupt just yesterday, you know, so this is a shifting marketplace. I wanted to say, how does that influence CSPD value, and why or why not? Let me frame this question. This is not just for only one facility or only travelers. I know many people who are like, well, they should pay us more money, and they're asking for more money based on like 2 years ago. But in this shifting pandemic, like I said, hospitals are shutting down, businesses, people are being furloughed. I don't know if SPD is aware of it yet, especially with like travelers, even traveling nurses, but that is going to affect pay rate because these places that are hiring travelers no longer have that revenue to be able to do the extra. So how does this influence CSPD value on both of those aspects, not just for the facilities, but also for the people who are coming in and who are now going to be looking for new jobs and or new contracts? I want to start with Karen and Lila on that. Karen, please.
Well, I think, like I said a couple of weeks ago, our value has increased within the organization by them just those that didn't really understand what we did, and I'm saying from the C-suite, because we always assume the C-suite knows exactly what we do in sterile processing, and we fail to educate them. And so with the just the reprocessing sterile, what do we call it, whatever, with the N95 mask, whether we decontaminated
decontamination,
the decontamination of those masks. You know, the C-suite, if they didn't understand, then all of a sudden we were the department that everybody was dependent on for that. And so with that being said, this is, you know, it's what we were saying, the emotional intelligence timing is everything. And so it's not that we came up, you know, we did a lot of work. Everybody did a lot of work during this time. People didn't go home in a lot of departments. And so just to say we, I think would be not to be the wisest word to use. But capitalizing on the fact that sterile processing, we've always been the foundation. So capitalizing on the fact that we are the foundation and helping educate the upper administration as far as evaluating what the pay is for the sterile processing techs. But that's the people that are over your department. So, you know, you're asking your leader to be the spokesperson for you, but then not just getting more money. We have responsibility in that. Means come to work, and when you come to work, do your work, and stop complaining about everything. You know, take pride in what you do. Take the extra initiative to get certified if you're not certified. If you are certified, to continue to read up on the things that can help enhance, can help bring value to what you do in your department. So I'm gonna stop right there because I can get real passionate about that, coming up from the rank of a technician to where I am today. Because I had passion as a technician, passion when I became a supervisor, passion when I became a manager, passion when I became a director, and passion as a business owner of what we do, because I get it. And so it's a field that if you don't get it and you don't have the heart for it, it's just a paycheck, and that's what's showing in your work. I'm gonna stop. Sharon's raising that hand, so I'm gonna stop now.
All right, Lila, how about you? The pandemic, it's a globally shifting marketplace, and so does this influence CSPD, and why or why not? It
absolutely doesn't influence us. It's I know for a fact that the hospital as a whole is very different now. So it's not just our department. We have to look at it holistically at the fact that there's hiring freezes in general, you know, and so and then there's only been placed a need. So if there's a need for new employees or a need for new staff, that they have to really request it all the way up to the higher ranks before it can even get approved. So knowing that, I do feel like the market's going to change for travelers in general, and they will only be able to go where the need is, and the need is probably only going to be in places where it possibly is that the population is a little bit higher, so therefore the actual cost of living is probably more expensive. So you have to think about all those things when you take on that contract, and they have to be aware of all the objectives that could come with taking a assignment someplace and knowing where you're going to find housing, you know, how you're going to be able to survive and live, and then still take care of your own household expenses wherever you are permanently a resident. So I would, you know, give that air of caution to every traveler going back out there and accepting new assignments. You may find your rates are a little bit lower. You may find your rates are higher. I guess it just really depends on what market you're going to serve and where you're going. But also be aware of some new things, because what happens if, you know, there's another outbreak and COVID, coronavirus, you know, rise up again and become more positive cases, and what are we going to do? Protect yourself in your contract. Find out, make sure you're going to get paid all the way through, you know, to ensure that you're able to survive and make it and take care of your family in the event that we have a lull in elective surgeries again.
All right, thank you guys so much. I just want to say who we have with us today. First off, I want to piggyback on what Lila just said. Protect yourself. Look at your contract. I've screamed this for years, from the mountaintops and from the valleys. Read your contract. Do not be mentally lazy and just sign because they're going to pay you this much money. This is how much my contract says I'm getting paid. Just right now, I don't want to put the name of the nursing agency that's out there, but they just did pay cuts on their nurses, like almost half. And they're like, how can they just do that? But there's something in the contract that says, if this, then that. So read what you're signing and agreeing to. And those are traveling nurses, they're hot. And so they have no choice. They can quit. But even in quitting, if you haven't read the contract right, then are you the one in breach? So you must read your contract. You want to be able to ask the questions before you sign. If you're only signing for the money, you may find yourself unprotected, and that may hurt your feelings, and you can blame other people. But at the end of the day, it will be because you didn't do your due diligence and read. That's part of value. Do your due diligence and read so that you can be sure that the value you're wanting is the value that you are negotiating, and it's not just pay rate. So I want to say thank you before we come back with our last hot seat question. This has been so good. Thank y'all so much. I want to say thank you to CS Assist. LaWayne Perkins is the president of CS Assist. It is the #1 resource platform for all things CS. Sharon alluded to a staffing agency earlier. He did used to do some things with a staffing agency. CS Assist is not a staffing agency. It actually is a platform resource just for things people need. So if you're at a surgery center and you're watching and you know you don't have an educator, but you need some educator forms, some competencies, you know, yes, CS Assist. It's the #1 resource platform for all things CS. I want to say thanks to Sips Consults. Karen Cherry is the owner of Sips Consults and president. And as you saw, she said that she did come up from a technician in, I believe, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and worked your way up to owning this company and other businesses, learning different things. Sips Consults is the #1 team, #1 company for team growth within the CSPD field. If you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to know about consulting and succession plans and how to position yourself for the future while being a subject matter expert, Sips is a team that you may want to look at joining. I want to say thanks to Sharon Golden Green. You know what I'm saying? She's living her life like it is.
Like it's golden. Golden.
Yes, Golden. Yes, ma'am. Golden. Past president of Isham, a very, oh my gosh, you are a global trainer. You travel the world teaching sterilization principles.
Yes.
And so if you ask her something, she's going to tell you where it is in Amy, where it is here. She is an advocate for just knowledge and knowing what you're supposed to know. I want to say thank you for Sharon. Sharon is also a fellow. For those of you who think I'm a CHL and I'm just the top dog, Sharon is a fellow with Isham, which means she's written thesis papers that have to deal with sterilization. And so you're getting the resources that you're getting even right now are great. Lila Price, dynamic educator, system-wide educator, known for just being able to facilitate groups and create platforms for people to get the knowledge they need to get. Even though she's giving it out on a system-wide thing, she still creates spaces for other people to be able to get the knowledge that they need so that they can be successful in their field. And then myself, I'm a certified human behavior consultant. I'm a CRCST, but I'm not a CHL yet, but I'm coming. And so here, you know, if it's something to deal with emotional intelligence or how you're presenting your arguments, we're here for you. We want everyone to grow, not just in numbers, but in abilities and in your capabilities and in the ability to communicate your capabilities. And so before we come back with our last hot seat question, and then let everyone go, we're going to do just one more little commercial, and we'll be right back. All right, happy Memorial Day, everyone. I am, well, I'm alive, so I'm not memorial, but my father definitely would be someone that we honor on Memorial Day. But I just want to say happy Memorial Day to everybody. Thanks for service. Grace to everyone who has lost someone within the service. Hot seat question. I don't have a hot seat question. I wanted to ask about work ethic. You know, because again, but I think we've hit it. Your initials, they don't mean that you have work ethic. Your work ethic doesn't mean you have initials. Value something. I do have a hot seat question now. I'm coming back to it. Is value something you determine, or is it something the people you're serving determine? Or is it both?
Well, Sharon, I think a person's values are molded by their virtues and vices, right? And as we were discussing earlier, I don't think you should set your value system based on a dollar, right? Your value system is not to be placed on a dollar, because if it's only placed on a dollar, then your value system has an expiration date. It should be placed on more virtual aspects. Passion is on top of my list. How passionate are you about what you do, and how much do you care about what you do? And do you understand the full impact of your role in healthcare? You know, we all play a part, but not all of us understand the part we play. So my message to our technicians out there, and overall team members in SPD, don't simply place your value system on how much you make. Some of the worst people I know are some of the richest, right? And some of the wisest and the most humblest don't have two nickels to rub together. So it can't be just about money. So you place your value system based on how much you make.
Okay.
All right. So I guess I'll keep going.
I was gonna say, I think you hit the nail on the head. So you know what, and I think we've kind of touched on all of that as far as, you know, your value. It's coming with your A game, you know, and having your heart in it, and people see that, you know, that I think a lot of times we miss out on opportunities because we're too busy trying to sing our own praise, letting our praise sing itself, and others see that, and it comes, it pays off. It might not pay off at that moment, but I always say, do you want the short-term gratitude or the long-term gratitude? Because the short-term is gone in a moment's time, but the long-term, by you doing, you know, you doing your best, bringing your A game, it's just going to pay off.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I will say that, of course, I agree. Anyone's value is based on, for me, as he said, their passion for the job, their character, and their integrity. Mm-hmm. Because your integrity makes you do right when nobody is around.
Exactly.
And I have to be able to trust that the technicians I have hired have integrity to do what's right when I'm not standing there looking at them. Because at the end of the day, the person impacted with what we do that is wrong is the patient, and it's not fair to them. And so I tell them, if you can't do what's right when nobody's around, you need to get off my team, because I cannot have you putting patients at harm. It's our job to do no harm. As for me, and Karen hit it on the head, I don't have to go and put a big sign around my neck saying I'm valuable, I'm important. I had a meeting with hierarchy yesterday, and several of them, they've never seen me. They've only heard me on the phone because we've been in the pandemic. They can't wait to hear me because I don't let them run over the SP and the D, and they can feel it through the phone. They can feel me through the phone. They're like, I can't wait to meet you because you on it. Value is there as long as we're doing what's right.
Lila?
I was just gonna say, don't be scared to ask for your value though. Make sure that you create, you're doing the work and you're putting in that time. People are noticing, but when it's the opportunity is there, make sure people are looking out for you. You know, you keep on reporting to work every day and keep giving a great job and always have the answers. But when it comes time for that raise increase, make sure that you lead with all that. Have all that in your evaluation, as we spoke about earlier, so that people are giving you your worth. And if they're not giving it there, don't be afraid to move on. I have moved on to other positions, and it has put me in a better position now. So don't be scared to go out there and do and make yourself valuable for another team if your team isn't appreciating what you're doing for them right now.
All right. Okay, I said that was the last question, but I definitely hear this one because we're talking and we're all kind of in leadership roles. And so, as people are listening, they're going to be people who are like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. But there are also going to be a population of folks like, man, forget that. I don't care. I don't care what to say. Give me my money. I ain't doing nothing. They don't pay me for it. I ain't doing it. They don't never live. Y'all hear I'm saying they all the time. Listen, if you don't want to grow, use the word they all the time. You will stay in that position until the cows come home. Let everything be they. You will stay in that position. I don't care if you switch facilities. You'll still hold the same position because you're holding the same mindset. But I digress. Let me bring it back. So right now people are listening and they may feel like we don't understand or we don't know what we're talking about, or we're saying that because we're here. Defeat always looks to divide so that it can sound good. You know what I'm saying? A defeatist mindset always looks to divide so it can sound good. What would we say to those individuals? And what would we say to that mindset? They don't care about us and forget them, because there are people that we work with like that. There are people in departments like that. Sometimes they've been there for 20, 30 years and they may not have a management position, but they have the same amount of influence and they're holding that department hostage because they're like, I ain't growing, ain't nobody else growing. Bump them all,
Well, I can say,
because that's a cancer. That's a cancer in our field. Let's address that.
Yeah. So I can say that in my hospital setting, and I came into a new setting where we had sort of that going on. We had people in silos. We had folks that was running the department under the cover and folks that was running it on top, and we had the middle group. What I had to do is come in, and what I had to do was come in and conquer and divide and get all the people that weren't engaged over to one corner to say, if you're not willing to do this job, because this is a very important job, and the people who get the benefit of your product, they come willingly like sheep to the slaughter to your hospital to have surgery, thinking in their mind that the least thing they have to worry about is, are my instruments correctly put together? Are they clean? Are they sterile? So if you can't do this job correctly 100% of the time, I need for you to get off my team. I need to help you to move on. I tell staff one-on-one, I write the best resignation letters in the world, and I will write one for you, and I will accept it after I write it. I will accept your resignation for you to move on, because one bad apple will ruin the whole barrel, and you can't allow that. Now, what I tell people is if you took the job, do the job. You took the job, do the job. You know, I don't know about anybody else's hospital, but at my hospital, we give you an offer letter. We tell you we're going to pay you $2. That's the time you can negotiate and say, I can't do this for $2. Not take the $2, come to work and say, I can't do this for $2. You took the job. Do the job. That's my take.
Yeah. All right, Lila, how about you?
So I look at it from different angles because I know that there are people who have been invested in the industry for a long time. There's technicians that I know that are just, I don't want to say just, but they are lead techs. And I would have no problem with them running the show. I know that they know exactly how to do it, can run it appropriately, get everything where it has to go, and build those relationships. And then there's other people who've been there just as long as them, and they are giving you the bare minimum. All they doing is they're 8 and they're escaping out the door, and that's all they're going to give you. They're not giving you any extra. And so there's value in longevity, but there's also value in knowing when people need to be helped and coached. So I used to say, I still say it sometimes, but I'm gonna coach you up or I'm gonna coach you out. Either way, I'm coaching you, right? Because I have to help you. I'm trying to build you. And sometimes the pressure of me building you up may just be too much for you. You're gonna leave, and that's fine too. But also I'm hoping that I'm making you a better technician, a better supervisor, a better whatever, so that you can be prosperous in this. Because if you're good, then I know that we're great, and that's all it is.
Right.
You know, and there's a mindset in some technicians, not only technicians, just people. Who they'll give enough just to get by. And when you see that in your workplace, you can bet your bottom dollar that resonates in other parts of their life. You know, they do enough just to get by. Imagine if you work for Boeing and your job was to screw on a boat so to make sure the propellers don't fail. And you identify that a propeller will fail if you don't screw it on tight enough, but you do just enough, you put people in harm's way. There's a Buddhist concept. It says no matter where you are, there you are. So when you see how you function in a workplace and even in your private life, and you're always circling back to the same circumstance or the same position year after year, you then understand that you're the common denominator, that you have to change you. And you have folks, no matter how much you mentor, no matter how great a position and field position you put them in, they, for some reason, will default back to who they choose to be. So it's a self-choice that they have to break down their own barrier to succeed. Some of the best of us have been around some wonderful leaders, and even in the same class of leadership, you'll find people that will always reset back to go. They're not able to pass go because it's a mindset. They have to want to succeed. They have to want to engage in that passion, and they have to want to know that this department, this community is not just about them. You know, you have to have some form of sacrifice for the greater good.
Anyone else before Miss Cherry?
No, actually, Luane said a couple of things I was going to say. Everybody said a little bit of what I was going to say. I agree 100%. Greatness is not a 1 day, 1 month, 1 year achievement. It's greatness comes with time. And so as Lila said, if you aren't able to, if you know you're doing your best and there are barriers, and I can say, like I said, I wasn't back with Rosa Parks, but I was born in the 50s. And so today was not what it was during my time in sterile processing in the 80s when everyone thinks, well, things have changed. They hadn't really. They really hadn't. So I worked twice as hard just to get a average on my performance evaluation. But you know what? It was the self-gratitude that I had. I loved what I did. I embraced it, and it paid off. So, what Wayne said, no matter where you go, there you are. So if you feel like it's the same thing everywhere I go, look at yourself. If you feel like what Lila said, you just may not be in that particular organization, be able to go any higher. But there's someone out there appreciate you. If you know you're giving your best, they'll be happy to take you in and help you shine. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Thank everyone so much. If you guys can hang out for just a little bit, we're gonna do this last thing, and then it will go off. So no one should be able to see you all again. if I operate this correctly. This has been chock full of nuggets. It's been chock full of nuggets. We may actually just break this one up and send it out in tidbits. So those of you who are listening, whether you're on live right now or whether you're going to listen later, please listen. Please take note and take notes. Take note and take notes, because we love our field. You love your field, and we want to remove any unnecessary cancers, and we want to grow. We want to grow as a field. We want to grow, guys. So yeah, everyone be safe. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us here on Knowledge and Nonsense, where we just have conversations. Your feelings may get hurt, but we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it and say, where did that come from? And who told you that? Why are you following that process? Whether it's in life or in the facility, where did you get that from? Is it knowledge or nonsense? All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Hang out for a little bit and we'll be back.